Hello, and welcome to Jolene Knits a Lot. My name is Jolene, and this is my show about knitting and crochet and crafting and other fun things that I get up to. So how are you? How are you doing? It's the end of January when I'm recording this, and where I live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, today it's minus 20 degrees outside. So if you're not used to hearing temperatures in Celsius, minus 20 is about the point where your skin starts to hurt when you go outside and your nose hairs freeze. So just to give you sort of a barometer of the cold that we're in right now. Having said that, it's pretty normal for us to get to minus 20 in the winter. And while it's cold outside, the sky is blue, there's no clouds, it's really sunny. Everything is covered in a fresh blanket of snow. This morning there was a really big moon in a really pretty gray blue sky. So while it is cold outside, it's still quite beautiful, and it's not a terrible place to live. I actually kind of enjoy having 4 seasons of the year. It's been a little bit cold for us to get outside to do skiing or skating right now, but it'll warm up again and we'll be able to do those fun winter things soon, hopefully. How are you? How are you doing? What's new with you in your end of the world? We're still hunkered down. There's still a lot of restrictions on what we can and can't do. Our kids have been going to school. My husband and I are continuing to work from home, and I feel very fortunate that we are able to do that. So we're just plugging along as best we can, trying to stay in touch with friends and family as best we can, and hoping for improvements in the spring. I don't think anyone's really ever longed for spring the way we are longing right now. So I look forward to, while I'm enjoying winter right now, I am looking forward to spring, which will hopefully mean a lowering of COVID cases and hope. So I'm looking forward to that. In the last couple weeks since we spoke, subscribers to this channel have reached 100, and as I told you last time, I'd be doing a giveaway. So I announced here on YouTube with a short video, as well as on Instagram, that I'd be giving away a skein of self-striping yarn. It's this skein of mustache yarn in their perfect self-striping sock yarn in the Woodstock 50 colorway, with a matching skein of Sheepy's Metropolis in the Warsaw colorway for heels, cuffs, and toes. This skein, you will fall in love with it. I promise you, it's the best gray ever. So that giveaway is happening here. There is a very brief, like 2-minute video on this channel. It's called 100 subscriber giveaway, and if you leave a comment there, let me know where you are and what you're knitting, you're in for a chance to win. As well, on my Instagram feed, where I am on Instagram, I am Jolene V MK. I know that sounds like a weird tag name, but it stands for Jolene V. V is my last initial, and MK stands for Master Knitter. So Jolene V MK on Instagram. I have a post that looks like this with these two skeins, and if you like that post and you leave a comment and are a subscriber to this channel, then you are in for a chance to win these 2 skeins of yarn. I look forward to keeping that draw open until February 11th, when I will be drawing one name and then announcing it on my next episode on this channel. So please feel free to comment. Let me know a little bit about yourself. I look forward to learning more about you. It's been great so far that we have people letting me know that they are in my are almost local to me. There's a girl that I went to university with. There's my good friend who I taught how to knit a few years ago. There are other people within my sort of local area. There's one lady who told me that she said, I'm the lady who commented on your wool and honey sweater one day at the University of Alberta Hospital where you work. And I was so glad that she found me and that she let me know that that was her, because I'd always sort of wondered about her, and if she must have been a knitter, because who knows the name of a sweater pattern, except her knitters. So I was really delighted that she introduced herself and that she's watching my channel. But there's viewers from all over the United States. There's one lady from Transylvania. It's just been amazing to me how my little channel has reached some people in places that I never would have thought. So I encourage you, if you haven't already, to please subscribe to this channel and leave a comment so that you can be in for a prize. Now, I know that, maybe on my first or second episode, I'd been talking about my interest in circular sock machines. No, I haven't gotten one. My youngest daughter is still quite opposed to the idea of using a circular sock machine to knit socks. For some reason, she thinks that that's not a valid way to knit socks. I'm not sure. I told her that if I got a circular sock machine, I would still hand knit her socks. She does like to wear her hand knit socks, especially when it's cold, as it is now. So I'm not sure what her general opposition is to it. I sort of threw out the idea that if I got a circular sock machine, she could use it as a money-making venture by cranking other people's yarn into socks and then charging a fee. She's sort of business-minded, so I thought that that would appeal to her, but I think she's still on the fence. Anyway, that was a bit of a diversion. I am interested in circular sock machines, and I sort of look into them every once in a while. I check to see if there's a used one in my area or what the cost of a new one would be. So I look into it every now and then, but I'm never super serious. But for Christmas, my husband got a 3D printer. I don't know anything about 3D printing. I don't know how it works. I'm very vague on the details. Both of my daughters have used 3D printers at school, although they said our 3D printer is quite a bit smaller than the ones at school. The ones at school are more industrial sized. However, beggars can't be choosers. This was a gift, and it's a lovely gift, and I look forward to kind of playing with it. And as we were looking at the pieces and figuring out what it was that we had received, the girls were talking about what they might want to 3D print, and I remembered that there is a company currently who is 3D printing circular sock machines. So I kind of Googled 3D printed circular sock machines, and if you do that, it takes you to a website called Thingiverse. Thingiverse is a place where people put their 3D printed makes. It's kind of like a Ravelry for 3D printers, and you can also download files on how to print what they printed. And there are circular sock machines on there, and I am intrigued. As I said, I'm nowhere near being ready to tackle this project. My husband took basically all of last weekend to set it up. It was hours and hours of watching a YouTube video and putting things together. But it's assembled now. We haven't tried it. But I'm seriously thinking about 3D printing a circular sock machine. Partly, I think, because of the challenge. I know that a 3D printed sock machine would be less sturdy than a metal one. I'm okay with that, given the fact that this 3D printer was a gift. It sort of arrived in our house, and now this seems like a good opportunity to try something out. Now, as I said, I know nothing about the process of 3D printing. I'm happy to learn. I probably won't be the one running the machine, but I am pretty good at putting things together. Lego, yes, I love Lego. I love putting things together. I love IKEA furniture. I love assembling things. I think I have a bit of an aptitude on how to build things. So I look forward to exploring that more. Now, there are several people who have built one or two other circular sock machines through 3D printing, and so I'm sort of waiting to see how some of their projects turn out. There are two machines that I'm specifically interested in, although no one has made them yet, so I'm just sort of waiting to see how that goes. One machine requires you to take knitting machine needles and cut them short. So that's sort of annoying, just in the sense that I don't have like a saw or a Dremel, which is what they recommend, handy in my house. The other machine requires a wooden base. Now, I am very fortunate in that I know a couple of people who are very inventive and very handy. And I think that no matter which option I chose, I might be able to sweet talk somebody into helping me build either the base or cut off the needle ends to make it work in this circular sock machine. So I'm sort of investigating my options, but I'm also waiting to see if other people who are more knowledgeable in 3D printing and assembling 3D printed machines, I suppose. I want to see how they make out first. So watch this space. There may be something happening soon. Damien Vince, if you're watching this, you may be getting a call from me, or my dear brother-in-law John, who is incredibly handy and good with wood. You may be getting a phone call from me also, as I sort of investigate this world of 3D printing and the possibility of a circular sock machine. I do kind of think that the wooden base might be the way to go, although it requires some things like tension, torsion, springs, and so I'm going to be sourcing some parts. No idea what I'm doing. Sort of excited to look into it some more. So that's what I've been up to in the last couple of weeks. Excited to have 100 subscribers. So welcome all of you, and excited to be looking into the world of 3D printing, specifically circular sock machines. So do any of you use circular sock machines? Are you familiar with that, or 3D printing, or both? Please leave comments, let me know, because I am interested and a little hesitant. So having cleared the decks, I thought maybe I should tell you what I'm wearing today. It's a finished object. Last time you saw this sweater, it was on the needles. This is the Snowy Forest sweater from Lane Magazine. It is knit in the Haynes Creek Heathers in the Ecru colorway. And oh, those cables are really looking good on the camera today. Thank you, ring light. I'm really happy with the way that this sweater turned out, and I'm going to show you some pictures of it just now. As you know, if you've watched previous episodes, I did have to make a few adjustments when I knit this sweater. The first one was that I used a yarn that was slightly of a different gauge than the one recommended in the pattern. I swatched to figure out what fabric I liked best, what needles worked best for me and this yarn. Then I took that fabric, measured my gauge, and using that gauge, I figured out how many stitches I would need at the chest area to get the bust size that I was looking for. When I figured that out, I used the directions for that size of sweater on the needles that I preferred. I went down a needle size for the ribbing, so for the neckline here, which is a folded neckline, and it turns out I really, really like it. It kind of looks very mod in 60s, and I really like it. The sleeves sort of have a bit of a puff sleeve effect in the sense that they're knit straight down and then quickly gathered here before the ribbing. The ribbing is snug without being tight, and I really like it. I think the length turned out really nicely for me. It's not too long, and I'm not shoving up the sleeves. It is a deeper yoke than I'm used to, but I think it looks really great, and I'm quite happy with how it turned out. I hope you like it too. The only other modification I did, besides all of that gauge adjustment, was the sweater directions have you knit it so that this cable right here is slightly off. So I believe that I slipped 3 stitches at the beginning of a round, as suggested by another person on Ravelry, so that everything was a bit more centered, and that is more to my liking. I do often rely on the comments of other people's projects on Ravelry. I like to, if I have a question about a pattern or if it's not straightforward for me, I will go through the patterns that have been marked by other knitters as helpful in Ravelry, and then see what comments they made and see if they might affect the way that I would knit a project. Given that I find other people's projects helpful, I try to make some comments on my knitting so that other people may benefit from my experience of knitting it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I like the weight and the drape of this sweater. It's cozy without being heavy. I really like the neckline. The more I wear it, the more I sort of like that sort of mod look. And because it's folded, it's really stretchy. So I have a lot of room there to get it on over my head, and it's not at all tight. I made the cast on quite loose. I used the recommended cast on, I believe, which is quite a stretchy cast on, and that's important because if this cast on had been too tight, all of this would have sucked in like this, and it might have been more turtlenecky. But the way that it is, I like how it sort of, the neckline sits quite nicely without pulling in. So this is the Snowy Forest sweater. You can find it in the most recent issue of Lane magazine, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I have quite a few finished objects to share with you today because I've been on a bit of a kick of knitting small things. In the last month or so, I finished 2 sweaters, and those were sort of bigger, bulkier projects. And so after that, I just kind of wanted to clear the decks with some small projects so that I could, partly so that I could get a sense of accomplishment in finishing them quickly. And also they were just really sort of enjoyable, fun things to knit. The first project, though, is not knitting. It is this embroidery hoop. This is the Yarn for Days project. I got it from a good friend for Christmas. It is a project by Knitted Bliss. And I really enjoyed doing it. Is it perfect? No. Am I okay with that? 100% I'm okay with that. I'm trying to give up my perfectionist tendencies, and because I'm not an embroiderist? What is the proper word for that? If you know, leave a comment. But I really enjoyed it. It was quite mindless in the sense that you just sort of, it's all satin stitch. So I was just following the pre-printed pattern on the cotton. And it was really enjoyable. I had a lot of embroidery floss left, and so my daughter has decided that she's going to try and make some friendship bracelets with that. So that's fun. I was not super fancy about finishing the back side. I used one of the embroidery colors of embroidery floss, and I just, let's see if you can see that a bit better. I just sort of did a very loose running stitch, went around about a ½ inch in from the embroidery hoop. Then I cut the fabric about, I wasn't as good at leaving myself some seam allowance there, but I cut the fabric around and then I snugged it up and tied it. I mean, this isn't super fancy, and what I may do, if I feel like it, is buy some felt and just glue some felt on the back to make it smoother. But I'm really happy with how this project turned out. I love the colors. I think it's super cheerful. And I've already bought myself another project to work on as needlework. It's cross stitch, so it'll be a little bit different than this. But my thought is I would just sort of find projects that I liked and enjoyed and finish them up. And once I have a few, I have a plan to hang them in my upstairs hallway, it's a very small, short hallway, but I have a blank wall there that has never really had anything significant on it. And I thought maybe it would be a good idea to have just some little artworks like this, the cross stitch that I'm planning on doing. And I've also found not super local to me, but an artist who makes embroidery kits. You can also purchase her finished projects. She's from Calgary, which is pretty much local to me. It's in Alberta. It's about 3 hours south of where I live. And her projects depict mountains in the national parks that are close to us in Jasper and Banff. The one that I am interested in is Lake Louise. Lake Louise is a very beautiful touristy spot. There's a ski hill there, which I've never skied, but there's also a beautiful lake with mountains and a really lovely hotel overlooking the lake and the mountains, with lots of hikes from that sort of starting point. There's also, you can go canoeing on the lake. It's just a really beautiful place. And my husband and I went there for a brief trip this summer when things weren't quite so locked down, to celebrate our 20th wedding anniversary. So I'm thinking about purchasing the kit for the Lake Louise vision picture after I finish my next cross-stitch project. So I'm thinking that this is something that I will just have ongoing on the side, as something I pick up and work on as and when. I don't think it'll ever take the place of knitting, but it is fun to try something new and stretch yourself in ways that you're not familiar with. So that's my Yarn for Days project. I'm really happy with how it turned out. The next thing I did was, if you remember last time, I had finished the kaleidoscope sweater in knit collage yarns, and I had a bunch left over. I had a bunch left over from a scarf that I had knit in the fall, and I had some yarn left over from that sweater. And so what I did was I made the Plaid-tastic hat. The main color is the same cream or French vanilla spun cloud that I used to make my kaleidoscope sweater. And the stripes are just all leftovers from my Plaid-tastic scarf. I found this nice black pom-pom in my stash, and my daughter and I agreed that it went really nicely with the darker yarns at the bottom. And so I whipped up this hat in an afternoon. It was a delightful knit. I used a 12mm needle, and when I was finished, I steamed it out just to kind of spread it out a bit. And this is what it looks like. It's just, I think, just the right size for me. It covers my ears, which is really important when you live here. I like that it's not a super big hat. I love the pom-pom. The pom-pom that I used is on a snap, so I can change it out if I want to with another pom-pom that I have. I have some like taupey colored ones or cream colored ones, but I really like the black for this one. And I'm really happy with how that turned out. Will I keep it for myself or give it away? Who knows? For right now, I was just sort of keeping it to show you and share with you. Who knows what will happen? Problems of aging is trying to keep makeup from settling in the creases under your eyes. Anyway, there's my Plaid-tastic hat. I believe it's a free pattern on the Knit Collage website. It is linked through Ravelry, and I will leave a link to my project in the show notes below so that you can look it up if you're interested. Oh, the great thing about short hair is you can put on a hat and take it off, and it doesn't require much zhuzhing. Okay, so that's my Plaid-tastic hat. The other thing that I finished in the last couple weeks are a couple pairs of mitts. If you remember last time I was showing you a skein of yarn. This is for Giving Fibers DK in the Peace colorway. I'd gotten it as a prize from the festive sock along hosted by Amy Florence of the Stranded podcast. Now I quickly knit up some mittens. I used the world's simplest mitten pattern. This is a pattern that is free by Tin Can Knits. As always, their patterns are impeccable. There's a size range from child to adult. You can use fingering to bulky yarn. They tell you exactly what needles to use. And I just find their patterns really, really straightforward and practical, especially for something like I just wanted some plain mitts. So they were the first place that I went. Now this was the first pair that I knit up, and my daughter quickly nabbed them and has been wearing them all week. I asked her to leave them home today so that I could show you. Didn't they turn out pretty? The way that this yarn is dyed, it's almost a gradient from one end to the other. So this is the first pair of mittens that I used, or made. I made the 7-inch palm circumference because that is the size of my hands, and I knew it would fit my daughter's quite nicely. I'm really happy with how those turned out. The colors are beautiful. I love her speckling. Just really pretty, and my daughter's been wearing them, as I said, all week, and she was quite happy with them. Now this pair of mittens took 55 grams of yarn, and it was 100 grams skein. So I knew I could make another pair, but I wouldn't quite have enough. The options were to make the ribbing shorter, but I didn't really want to do that. So I just grabbed a skein of yarn that I had in my stash. It was a Plucky Knitter skein in a DK, and I knit up another pair. Now, because of the way that this yarn is dyed and is kind of a gradient, these ones look they almost look like these ones. I do this, but not quite. And again, I just think they're really fun. The contrast cuff is, I think I would have preferred them to be all one color, but I just didn't have the yarn for it. And so, I don't know, a neutral colored cuff is just fine with me. Especially when you're wearing a jacket, you're not going to see these cuffs very much. They're cozy, they're cute, and so yeah, I made 2 pairs of mitts this week. I cannot recommend the pattern more highly. As I said, very straightforward, very practical. It's free, and there's a size for nearly everyone in your family, and you can use whatever yarn you want. So what more could you ask for? So really happy with those 2 pairs of mitts. Now what have I been working on? I think I'm still in a palette cleansing sort of frame of mind after finishing up a couple big sweaters. So I cast on a scarf. This scarf is for somebody, not me, as a birthday present. And I'm using, again, more of that Spun Cloud by Knit Collage. I had a whole extra skein. After finishing my sweater, I had basically a skein and a half. So I used part of that half skein to make this hat. I still have more of it. I may be able to make another hat. I haven't weighed it yet. I'll let you know. But I am excited about the idea of having another hat like this, either for myself or for a gift. This is a scarf that I started with one of their mini sets in blue colorways. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's again the Plaidtastic scarf. This first yarn is another one of the spun cloud ones, so it's the same as the main color. This contrast color here is the cotton tape. So if you can see it, that is actually fabric that is printed with a deep blue and then greens and various other shades. And so then that fades into this blue color, which has the daisies on it. Let's see, I know there's daisies here, I have to find them. Here's one, and there's another one. So yeah, I've just been working on this very little actually, and it progresses so quickly because the needles are so massive. These are 12.75 millimeter needles. And so it's a very satisfying project in the sense that you're using such different textural yarns, and every so many rows, you're changing those textural yarns. So there's always something new and interesting that you're working on. And pretty quickly, I think I'm going to have a scarf. I've been wearing my Plaidtastic scarf lately because it's been so cold, and it's really nice to throw on around my neck to stay warm on these frosty mornings. So that's been really, I've been enjoying wearing mine, and I look forward to working on this one some more as a gift for someone in my life. And really, that's the only thing I have that I've been working on beside my crochet blanket. And I know I said I wouldn't show you it to you all the time, but I don't have anything else to show you. So I'm just gonna quickly flash it at you. And if you're bored, just look away for a moment or two. So again, I have been not very precious with my color selections in this project. It just sort of is what it is. I made some magic balls that I've been crocheting off of, and so you can see there's nothing really particularly planned or really very curated about this project. This little teacup progress keeper shows you where I was last time. So I have been working on this a fair amount. Again, just wacky colors, and it is what it is. I like to think of it as boho chic, and I think, as I was telling you, that I'm just working on this when I feel like crocheting. Some days I just want to sit and crochet all evening, and some days I don't really pull it out of the project bag. And I'm fine with that, because my plan for this is just to work on it when I want to work on it, and when it's done, it's done. And when I have completed it, I've worked an edge on it, blocked it out. Well, probably won't block it, I'll be honest with you. I'll probably just do an edge on it and call it a day. I'm going to give it to the person that I have in mind, just as a I've been thinking about you sort of gift. And I think that's a nice way to think about your knitting. I don't think that knitting always has to be tied to a birthday or Christmas or a big event in your life. I think it's nice just to give something because you want to. And I know I have a lot of knitting in my life, and so why not share it? Okay, for the purists out there, this is crochet. So I just feel like we're sharing this whenever I'm finished is a nice way of showing someone that I've been thinking about them and that I care about them. And I think I'd like to do that more. Anyway, so that is my granny stripe blanket that I've been working on. The pattern for this is it's more of a recipe really, because it's sort of some basic instructions and then do what you will with it. It is on the Attic 24 website, and I will leave a link for all of the things that I talked about today in the show notes below, in case you feel like crocheting a granny stripe blanket and giving it to someone you love. Maybe you want to knit or crochet a pet blanket, a baby blanket, a blanket for a football game, a blanket for watching your kids play soccer, a blanket for being cozy on the couch. Whatever you feel like, this recipe will give you sort of the bare bones, and then you can make what you will with it. And I have to say, it is quite a relaxing thing to work on. So I would recommend it if you're so inclined. So it's been a little while since we had a cocktail on our channel, and I thought maybe it was time to start that tradition again. So I thought today I would show you a cocktail I had recently called a Boulevardier. The Boulevardier is a cocktail that is a lot like a Negroni. There are 3 ingredients: a bourbon of your choice, Campari, and vermouth. I like Maker's Mark, but use whatever you like or whatever you have on hand. I have a cocktail shaker, an ounce measuring cup, and a old-fashioned whiskey cup. This is one that my husband and I picked up in Seattle. It's a blown glass cup that my husband and I love to use for cocktails or for wine or really for anything. It's one of my favorites. So we're going to start by pouring 1.5 ounces into a cocktail shaker that has some ice in it. Please feel free to eyeball it. I'm not going to be too precious about the measurements. We'll add 1 ounce of Campari. Campari is a bit of a bitter herbal note, so if you've never had it before, I'm not sure if you want to buy a whole bottle of it until you know if it's to your taste or not. But it certainly makes a lot of popular cocktails, Negroni being one of them. And finally, 1 ounce of vermouth. Ooh. Now, if you're like me and you make a mess of your counter, just go ahead and clean up after yourself really quickly and no one will know. Let's put the cover on our cocktail shaker and give it a really good shake. Some sources I've seen say to shake until your cocktail shaker is frosty. Mine's a little bit sweaty right now. It's definitely cold. I'm going to remove the top and pour it into my glass. And there you have it. A Boulevardier. I hope you give it a try and let me know what you think. I made one for my husband the other night and he seemed to enjoy it. I know I enjoyed mine. I hope that you maybe take the opportunity to make one for yourself. And if you do, let me know what you think. Cheers. And that's all I have to share with you today. I have a feeling in the next couple weeks I'm going to be casting on another sweater. Probably the other one from Lane Magazine, the Sally sweater. I will try and post a picture here to show you what I'm thinking of working on. It'll be a little bit of a challenge because there's some techniques that are new to me, but only on the sleeves, and then the body will just be smooth sailing. So I think I might branch out and try something new. How about you? What have you been working on? Are you already looking forward to spring, or is it spring where you are? I have a nephew, my oldest nephew, just moved to Vancouver, British Columbia, a couple weeks ago. He's doing a master's degree there, and having grown up exclusively here, where we have 4 seasons and it's definitely winter, he's moved to a place where in January there is green grass and leaves on trees and people walking around in shorts. And so it's been a little bit of a culture shock for him, but I'm really excited for him and the possibilities that have been open to him. And that's everything for today. Please remember to comment on my post about the 100 subscriber giveaway. Make sure that you're a subscriber and either post on YouTube or on Instagram. On February 11th, I'll be closing that down and randomly drawing one winner from all of those entries, and I'll be announcing it on my next episode, so I hope to see you then with some more projects, maybe more progress on current projects, or maybe something completely new and out of the blue. Who knows? But I wanted to say thank you very much for joining me today. I hope that you are finding time to do the things that you enjoy. I know that in the next couple weeks I plan on knitting a lot. Bye.